So we've understood that when we're talking about market structures, we're talking about how markets, how firms, how industries rather are classified based on competition for goods and services. Have you ever seen first of all, good morning. Have you ever seen a firm or an industry perfectly falling under any of these? So let me just give a brief overview. Perfect competition now is there are plenty buyers, plenty sellers, same goods, price the same, no single firm can determine the price. Monopolistic competition is they are selling slightly differentiated goods. So the goods are almost the same, but they are slightly differentiated. So each of them have an edge. For example, fast food chains. Then oligopoly is where they have few sellers. Oligo is the etymology. I think this is Greek. And then this, anytime you hear poly is talking about sellers. Poly, sellers. Holistic sellers. But anytime you hear Sony, you're talking about, hey, Sony, you're talking about you're talking about the buyers. So if you hear duopoly, you're talking about two sellers. But if you hear duopsony, two buyers. If you hear monopsony, one buyer. My question was, knowing the meanings of all these market structure, you can never say that one market falls perfectly under these. You cannot say Dangote has monopoly in any, even cement there is BOA, even salt, even the fuel that he's refining. You cannot say one this thing has oligopoly. You cannot say one has even perfect competition. These markets are rarely seen in the real sense. Do you understand? So now that's what Chiwendu was now asking me. Why the heck are we now studying all these things if you can't even see anyone in the real sense? Do you get? So what's the basis? What's the point? Why we are studying this thing is because, one, they serve as a benchmark. What does that mean? You know what a benchmark is like a year. For example, now, if I come here and say, you must be, I say that this is 6 feet. Eh? This is a benchmark. This is a yardstick for measuring everybody's height in this class. So, for example, now this perfect competition. Remember, there's a question the lecturer asked in class. He said, "What's the purpose of a market?" It was because of that question she asked me that I even knew the answer, because I had to find out. The purpose of a market is to allocate resources. So now, why this perfect competition is perfect is because it portrays a market that all resources are efficiently utilized. I'm coming. I'm coming. Relax. So in the notes, we have pure first. Eh? You read the notes. And then we now have perfect. We have pure, then we now have perfect. Pure is like a basic setup. It's like an environment where there can be competition. And in the note, there are 5 assumptions for pure competition. There are 5 assumptions. Now, but for this pure to become perfect, you must now add 2 more assumptions in the notes. So now, in this pure, the 5 assumptions are that, one, that there must be a large number of buyers and sellers. One, the goods must be homogeneous. Two, there must be free entry and free exit. 3, no government intervention. 4, and what's the last one again? That they must be profit oriented, they are profit maximizing. So those 5 assumptions, you can obviously see that it sets a basic setup for competition to thrive. There are plenty buyers and sellers. People are selling the same thing. Anybody can come and enter. The government is not regulating anything, and all of you want to make profit. That's the basic setup for that competition for survival. This perfect competition now goes an extra mile to show you how that market can efficiently utilize resources. You know, in economics, the whole crux of the whole point of what we are studying is that we know that resources are scarce and we want to maximize it. So this perfect competition now represents a market where every resource is efficiently utilized. And the 2 extra assumptions are now, one, that there is perfect information about the market, and then 2, there is more free mobility of factors of production. What these 2 assumptions now do is, because if the buyers and the sellers know everything about the market, there will not be any shortage or excesses. For example, if you as a seller now knows, okay, this is what will happen or this is what's going on in the market, you will know how the output to produce. Do you understand? The buyers at the same time, there will be no fluctuations. Everybody knows everything about that market, and it will create a kind of stability. So that's one reason why resources will be maximally um, distributed. And then another one is there is free mobility of factors of production. What that means is that if factors of production are not freely mobile, it can become a bit costly. Just like if you learn a skill now, it took you money, it took you time, it took you resources to acquire that skill. So that your skill is not easy for another person to get it. So that the person in that industry, the person that does not know that your skill in that industry cannot move into that industry where your skill is required. So there's no perfect mobility. So but then if there's perfect mobility, it means that each factor of production can move freely. It means that there will not be any friction. Now resources are not maximally distributed. It's now efficient. That market is now perfectly competitive. So remember what I'm trying to explain, what this market structure is for. And I said benchmark. So now this perfect competition will now show us this is how your market is supposed to be. This is how, if your market is operating, you know that your market is being efficient. So now take for example, you have pepper market. You now come. We have the 5 assumptions of perfect competition. 7, sorry. Pure is 5, perfect is 7. Now you come to a market like a pepper market now. A pepper market is supposed to be a perfect competition because there are many buyers and sellers. It's the same pepper. Do you understand? You will now come and bring all the characteristics of that market and start trying to check it off. Check it, check it, check it, check it. You are measuring the reality of that pepper market that you have with what perfect competition is supposed to assume. That's how perfect competition serves as a benchmark. Because if you are able to show that this market is operating the way a perfect competition operates, it shows that resources are maximally or efficiently distributed in that market. Do you understand? So perfect competition will now tell us that this market is efficient. It does not matter if one person is making, it does not matter. What we want to know is this thing efficient? Do you understand? So perfect competition now serves as that measure.